Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Are we happy to be here? I'm happy to be here this morning. I'm so excited. It may be raining out, but that ain't stopping our fun. It's not. So I'd like to welcome you all here on behalf of Little Hands Community Promise and Dr. Stacy Haynes. So we're just happy that you guys are here, that you're coming, that everybody came and they're gathering together to learn more, to grow more, and to understand more as parents, as people, and as families. So before we get started into all the serious stuff and the fun stuff, let's do drawings. Do we want to start with drawings? Is that what we should start with? Yeah? All right. We got tickets. We do. So I'm going to draw 3 tickets in the beginning. We're going to start with 3 prizes, and then we can get started to the next thing. So let me shake my tickets around. Make sure I'm not looking. I can't. When you have nails, you can't pick nothing up. Okay. You can't. Nothing. Not a thing. Okay. So the first ticket I have is 8290746. That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said. Absolutely. You get a prize and you get a prize and you get. Okay, so we're going to start here. This is the Versus. This is a Versus. So this is a bakery, a local bakery here on the Pike. They are amazing. They're so good. So I'm glad that you were able to get something from them. Maybe it'll make you want to go to the bakery. Me and my mom used to when I did good at school, she would give me like this little strawberry tart from a Versus all the time, and I remember it. So their food is really, really good. Okay, another one. All right, so we have 8290751. Oh, Lindsay! Go, Lindsay. Go, Lindsay. It's your birthday. Okay. So this is Dr. Stacy's books. This is her own basket that she has. It's pretty cool. So this is all of her stuff. There you go. Thank you, Lindsay. Okay. All right, this is our last drawing for this moment. So we have 8290749. Ooh, we have another winner. Yay. She said, ooh. So down there we have an Easter basket because Easter's coming up. So there's your Easter basket. Yes. You're welcome. All right, so great. We'll have more drawings later, but I'm happy for everybody that did win something. So I hope you value that and you're excited about your gifts. So really, it's the lady of the hour that we're going to talk about next. The whole reason that we're here, the reason we're here, it's her mind, her abilities, and the things that that God had placed inside of her. That's the reason that we're here today. So I'd like to talk about Dr. Stacy Haynes. We're going to welcome her. So she's a licensed professional counselor and educator. And she has been for over 20 years. She has over 20 years of mental health experience, specializing in treating behavioral and emotional challenges of children and family. She has spent her entire career specifically working with neurodivergent children and has authored 6 books, including her 2-time winning book, Powerful, Peaceful Parenting, Guiding Children and Changing Lives. She also speaks nationally and internationally for Lives in the Balance as a certified trainer. And she's also a presenter for collaborative and proactive solutions, teaching schools and parents how to problem solve with their children. You can find her parenting tips and strategies featured in over 80 articles, websites, and magazines. Dr. Stacy Haynes has earned her bachelor's degree in psychology from Liberty University. She's earned her master's degree in counseling psychology from Bowie State University. And she got her doctorate of education in counseling from Argosy University. She's a clinically licensed professional counselor in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And she's an approved clinical supervisor from the National Board of Certified Counselors, the NBCC. She's also the owner and clinical director of Little Hands Family Services, LLC. and she's the founder of Little Hands Community Promise, which is a New Jersey nonprofit providing free social skills training to families, and she proudly serves as the director of culture. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. She proudly serves as the children's director at Culture Life Wesleyan Church, and she's a proud mother of 2 children, an Eagle Scout and an American Menson. So also, too, I want to just run by the reason that we're here and why we're all gathered. It's to raise money for Little Hands Community Promise, which is a New Jersey nonprofit, which would provide free social skills for ages 3 to young adult. And this is all in hopes to bring awareness with this event to the need of providing family support for those things and to reduce the overwhelming costs of services for children with neurodivergent needs. So with all of that, we're going to bring the lady of the hour up, Dr. Stacy, so that she can talk about her next thing.
Thank you. All right, good morning. Thank you so much, and I know we are having some audio things going on, but we're good, awesome. So folks online, this is exciting because folks are home also watching us. Just to give you a few tips for today, we have a cameraman walking around. We are filming. The goal again today is to raise funds and awareness for the need for social skills in our community. We are going to have some fun today, so we are going to be very interactive. That is my goal. But again, everything today is to help you as parents and help you in your journey. So my sneakers, which my children have nicely said, wow, Mom, you're in sneakers today. Train, coach, cheer. I was watching sports, basketball, my favorite to be specific. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, it's interesting that professional athletes who probably have been doing their career since they were little still need coaches. Professional athletes still work with trainers, and yet they get paid a lot more than we do. But it dawned on me that this is how we reach parents, helping us to see that training, coaching, and cheering our children is the way to victory with parenting. So today, we're going to go through the timeline. And we're going to go through the timeline in 3 different segments. No worries, we're going to go from 0 all the way to adult. So for those of you with littles, we'll touch them first in our train section. For those of you with that 8 to middle school age and early high school, we'll get there with our coaching and then also with our cheerleading from young adult into, or from high school into young adult. So let's talk a little bit about these 3 terms. When I say trainer, I'm not talking about a trainer like training an animal. In our communities in mental health, that's been frowned upon, right? We've had a lot of services that say, hey, if you do rewards and if you do punishments. When I say trainer, I'm talking about a personal trainer. How many of you have ever been to a personal trainer? How many of you still go to that personal trainer? Interesting, right? So, right, you go to the personal trainer, and what's the first thing they do? They teach you how to use everything, right? They teach you how to stretch. They're going to make sure that even before you touch a machine, that you know what you're doing. And training skills is what we're talking about when we talk about training. Coaching. You've had a good coach, you know what that feels like. If you had a bad coach, how many of you done sports? Yeah, we've had that bad coach, right? Now, again, parents, I'm not going to talk about good versus evil parenting, right? I always tell parents we're not going backwards. I'm not going to talk about things we did in the past. But how do we use our ability to guide our children? And do you have a game plan? Because every good coach has a plan. And then we're going to talk about cheering. Anybody a cheerleader? Former cheerleader? All right, cheerleaders. Sorry, that was not my jam. But cheering. You cheer when the team's winning. You cheer when the team's losing, even louder. And so we're going to talk about, with our parenting, our ability to cheer in those moments that matter most. So buckle in. Here we go. We're going to start our game. Training. Let's think about it. Research says The definition of training, it's going to be some fun today, no worries, I'm all for it. The definition of training, the action of teaching a person a particular skill or teaching them a type of behavior. Let me give you an example. How many of you actually taught your child to sit still in a chair? Think about it. For 6 hours in a school setting next to other kids when they were 4 and 5, right? This is what we do when we think about skills. In my office as a clinician, I have a small desk and a small chair. And one thing that I do with my families as they come in with small children is I teach them how to sit in a chair, and we'll do exercises and we'll do coloring things, because that is what school looks like in kindergarten and first grade. But when we think about how many skills and what skills are we teaching, that's going to be important. So let's think about, and it's not a mystery. I always tell people what we need to teach our children is not a mystery. We're going to start with some research on the domains of development. And so you have a blue bag in front of you, or you should have gotten one when you came in. Get out your blue bag, and I want you to look inside and look for your ball. And my front row does not have a blue bag. So someone's going to get you a blue bag. All right, so you have your bouncy ball. What do you notice about your bouncy ball? It's round. What else do we notice? I love this participation. It's going to be like this today. Smiley face. Some of us have smiley faces. Some of you, if you got the right bags, you have little animals. Yes, right? So we've got some things going on here. But not only is this a toy, but this is a tool. So let's talk about it with our 3 domains. How might this bouncy ball help a student physically or a child physically? You're doing it. What is it? Yeah, our fine motor skills, right? How else might this bouncy ball help our children physically? With dexterity, absolutely. One of the biggest challenges we're having in preschool and kindergarten right now is the lack of fine motor skills and the ability to write. Our kids are complaining that their hands write, and I have my classroom teacher saying, yep, that's the problem. Fine motor skills, right? Thinking about manipulatives. How might this little bouncy ball help your child develop cognitively? Cognitively. We're thinking. Hand-eye coordination, the laws of physics. Good catch, right? Yeah. Thinking about gravity, what you could teach from a cognitive perspective. What about social emotional? How does my bouncy ball help with social emotional? Frustration? Yes. What's on it? Smiley face. Listen, we can take a tool to teach emotion. And here's the other best part about that. If I want to play with my ball, I need a partner sometimes. That connection piece, right? Relationships, social, emotional. One thing that you're going to notice with most children's toys from 0 to 7, color, engagement, right? Even the idea, these are kind of those old-fashioned toys that kids don't play with anymore, but they should. The kids love this in my office. But again, it was thinking about the physical, the cognitive, learning colors, right? Learning shapes, absolutely. These are things, and don't get me wrong, I'm going to talk about technology later, but there's a value in our old-fashioned toys, right? Again, looking at development. And so these are things, we have what we call the home environment or the home study in mental health. And what we do is we go into someone's home and we look to say, what are the resources in that home? And research shows us that a home that has toys, not apps, not video games, books, reading materials, experiences, we'll talk about our parenting styles later, but just the things that you place in that environment make such a difference. So we should ace this next one. Ready? You have some bubbles. One more time, let's go in that bag. How are bubbles going to help us physically? Breathing, deep breathing. Why is deep breathing awesome? Relaxation, self-regulation. If we're upset and someone says, go take 10 breaths, that is so boring, right? Yes, take a deep breath, go stand in the corner, count to 10. Nobody wants to do that. If I say to my 4-year-old, hey, why don't we go blow some bubbles so you can relax and calm down? Now I've engaged them in teaching them skills in a way that they can engage. So I always tease because when students and children leave my office, we give a prize. Our prizes are bouncy balls. Our prizes are stuffies. Our prizes are fidget toys. Our prizes are bubbles. Things that help kids take toys and now use them as tools. So the domains of development is very important. We're going to look at that at each stage of development. But there's two other components we want to talk about. And one's going to be your child's temperament. Temperament is how we view the world and situations. And so looking at how you view through your lens, right? We typically, in mental health, we talk about 3, easy, difficult, and slow. Let me give you an example. If I said I was going to, we're going to go to the water park. My easy child is, yes, let's go. They went and ran to go find their swimsuit, their swimming trunks. They're in the car with us, no problem. My slow to warm up, thinking about it. Maybe by the time we get there, it's a better idea for them. They're in a good place. They're like, yes, we're going to make it there. My difficult. Now, it's not about behavior and being bad. It's their temperament, right? And I really want to focus on that for a second, because having a difficult temperament is just how they view things. And so my difficult kid may come with 100 reasons why today is not the day we can go to the water park, right? And in that moment, it feels like defiance, and it feels difficult. When we think about temperament, I want to kind of give you an example. I'll show you a picture of some little ones. There we go. and my little one is not so little anymore, right? So what you don't see in this picture is there's actually 4 babies here with Granny, and Granny's holding all 4 of her grandbabies. And temperament is just how you view the moment. Now when my daughter and I, we have this conversation about this picture, my daughter will say, Mom, I just didn't want to take the picture, and everybody was there, and it makes sense. And it's not that Paige is a difficult child at all. She's probably a slow to warm up, and in most days, an easy kid, really. That's her temperament. My son, any guesses? He's pretty an easy kid, right? Even when there's chaos going on around, he's like, well, I'm just here for the ride. And so how that helps is it teaches us as parents how to engage. Do I engage with both of them the same? No, because I understand their temperament. I understand how they view moments. And so even when it's something as simple as clean your room, she needs a 2-day notice, a timeline and a deadline to get her mind wrapped around it. He could have a 10-second notice, okay, Mom, and he goes up. Neither is wrong, neither is bad. It's just their temperaments. And what I've learned to do as a parent is adjust how I engage based on how they're designed. Very important part of parenting. Let's talk now about those skills. And our skills that we need by 7. Josh, you with me? We'll get there, no worries. Our skills that we need by 7. There was a book that was written that was all I really need to know I learned in kindergarten. And there's some truth to that everything that we need to know. I want you to take out that ball again. Get out your bouncy ball. Now with your bouncy ball, I want you to give it to somebody. Oh. Look at us adult learners. How did you feel? Oh, well, we've got 2 balls, all right. We've got generous givers over here. about it. Did anybody hesitate for a second? Like, it's my ball. I'm not ready to share my ball. Am I going to get it back? You can give your balls back to the other person now. Because we might be attached to our colors and our smiley face. Sharing is a skill. And here's what's interesting, parents. We don't teach sharing. You know what we teach? The aftermath of sharing. We wait till they're fighting over the thing. You need to share, right? After they've already had the meltdown, after they're already wrestling with each other, wrestling with the device or the item instead of sharing, right? But how about if we're intentional about teaching sharing? Interesting. These are skills when we talk about kindergarten. A lot of teachers will say that students have the hardest times at things like centers. Centers require not only sharing of, like, let's say Legos or building blocks or some magnet tiles, but sharing also requires cooperation. Being able to cooperate with a group of people when you're in a center. Many of our preschool kindergarten office referrals are because somebody sucker punched someone over Legos because we don't know how to share. We don't know how to cooperate. Simple things. I'm going to have everybody stand up for a second. I told you we're going to be interactive today. I live no other way, right? So, we're going to practice something that everybody should be familiar with. Anybody play Simon Says? Oh, wait a minute, I got some real Simon Says people in here. We're like, okay, hold on. All right, Simon Says. I'm going to be Simon. You know what? I'll do doctors. No, we'll do Simon. All right. Simon Says, touch your head. Simon Says, touch your shoulders. Simon Says, touch your waist. Touch your head. Oh, look at us adults. Oh, all right. Well, I won't make you sit out. Right? I won't make you sit down. All right, ready. Simon Says, touch your nose. Simon Says, touch your head. Simon Says, touch your knees. Touch your head. Oh, we did okay this time. All right. What are we practicing? Listening. Following directions. Listen, these are the games we got to get back to with our kids. It prepared them for listening, following directions. All right, one more while I have you standing up. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. You ready? All right, ready? Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Don't make me sing by myself. Knees and toes. Ready? Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and toes. Knees, toes, shoulders, head, shoulders, knees. All right, one more time. We're going to do it that way. Ready? All right, we're going to listen and follow directions. You ready with me? All right, let's go. Knees, toes, shoulders, head. Knees, toes, shoulders, head. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. All right, give yourselves a hand, sit down. So that second exercise, I love it. Listen, if we're struggling, so that second exercise was actually in research. Researchers took a group of students, and they trained a group on head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Then they worked with another group of students, and they switched up the order like we did the second time. What they found is students that were better with the second version, were able to follow those instructions, were actually better with focus in their classroom. These are things that our kids need. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Even being able to follow that song takes listening, following directions, paying attention. Things that we need in classrooms. Let's talk a little bit about manners. Listen, because we know people don't have manners these days, right? Listen, that's why you guys were like, manners. Ooh, yes, right? And again, intentional teaching of manners. And most of us teach our kids please and thank you. We were probably about maybe 10 years ago, I was on a visit with my mother-in-law, and Granny, as we affectionately call her. And I was talking to my daughter or my son, and I was saying something, and I was saying please and thank you. And my mother-in-law turned, and she said to my husband, "You guys are very polite to each other." Now, this is nothing about the culture. They're originally from Guyana, South America. But what was interesting is without even thinking or blinking, I turned to her and I said, that's because I want them to have manners when they grow up. Thinking about intentional, how we model behavior. But these are those things that, again, kindergarten, preschool, first grade teachers are saying, please, I need your kids to be able to do these things when they walk through my door. Regulating emotions. I'm going to look at my daughter kindly as I say this story. Don't get me lost. They have been in the car when I have been lost. And if I am lost and the GPS is spinning, this is not Dr. Stacy. It's just Stacy in the car at this point. And Stacy needs the radio turned down and nobody talking because we have to figure this out. But those are probably the few moments where my kids have been able to say, yeah, we saw mom off today. Because one thing I want to model is my ability to regulate emotions. I tease parents, your kids can be out of whack and dysregulated. Doesn't mean that you have to be. I can enjoy my coffee as they stomp around the house. Doesn't mean I have to be dysregulated. So teaching emotions and even our little bouncy ball, but we want to be intentional. If you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, they're coming out with the 2. I'm pretty excited. Yes, number 2. What I love about what Disney did is they actually took this concept of your emotions and your feelings and how it's in your brain, and they made it to life, right? And so anger's like this really mean dude, and joy's like this really happy sunflower, happy girl, which I love. But even sadness in the movie has a purpose. And it teaches kids that all your emotions you're supposed to feel. So we as parents don't say things like, stop crying. Don't be scared. No, they're supposed to have all of those emotions. And they're supposed to be there for a reason. And so being able to teach our children about those emotions and how to manage them, is when we say the word regulate, is what we want to do instead of telling them, don't have them, you can't have them. When was the last time you played a board game? It's been a while. I know. We have in our island at home, we have board games, and we have in the island we have dominoes. And every now and then we'll be sitting there waiting on my board game. Got it, Josh? We have board games there, and what we'll do is we will play just a random game of dominoes. But many of our board games also help with focus. Things like Battleship. We just did Simon Says, Head and Shoulders, Knees and Toes. Chess. When was the last time you played checkers? Focus. Attention, right? Sunday, good, listen. Because again, these are games that our children need. And you might say, well, they can focus on that device. I'll tell you, there's difference between 2D learning and 3D learning. And the problem we're having in education is that our kids are so used to the 2D that they can't do the 3D when they're asked of it, right? So we've got to make sure that we're intentional about putting learning things, again, in that home environment to help develop these skills. And when I think about the skills, I saw a study, and it said 3 to 5-year-olds, 57% of them can access an app like that. You hear the horror stories on the news, right, where the kids ordered like 3,000 popsicles from Amazon. And I'm like, oh, blessings, you know. But that same study said, now mind you, 57% can access an app, but 14% of 3 to 5-year-olds cannot tie their shoes. What does the classroom teacher need? Them to be able to access an app or tie their shoe? And as the 3rd grade teacher sent the letter home to us, 3rd grade, reminding parents, please make sure your 3rd graders can tie their shoes. Folks, we got to get back to training the basics for our kids to be successful. Now, I'm not saying educators don't get tired, but if you have 20 babies that you're tying shoes all day long, that's taking away time for educating, as my educators shake their heads. So as we close out this section, I have a question for you. How much time have you spent training these skills from 0 to 7, right? And we're going to talk about continuing to support the skills, but from 0 to 7, looking at our time, How much time have you punished your children because they lack skills? So we're going to take a social skills break. We're going to show you a quick video of our social skills program, and then we'll be back.
He expresses that he likes to come here by never telling me, no, I don't want to go. He loves all the projects. He's smiling when he leaves. He's excited when he comes. Him being that positive towards this, I have no problem bringing him here. If he likes it, I love it.
One of the things that makes our program stand out is that we start the students, they come into the room, we keep our groups small, 4 to 6 students, but what they're doing in the beginning is a craft, an activity, something to help them to relax and reduce anxiety. Then we'll do icebreakers, we'll do games, we'll have them talking to one another, we teach an actual social skill that they can use in a school setting, and then we have free time where they're actually building Lego kits or doing science projects together, and that's where the kids can naturally build relationships and use the skills that we went over in the lesson.
Little Hands has taught us how to speak to Ethan, how to ask the appropriate questions that are going to get the answer from him. He sees the world very differently than we do, and it's opened our eyes how his mind works and how to really engage with him. And he's also had the opportunity to see not just his own feelings and figure them out, but to think about other people's feelings where that's not the first thing on his mind.
I think it's just given us the ability to understand him and know what maybe he's thinking.
Little Hands Family Service is a family. It's just that. I said the love that the employees pour into the kids here, it's great. My sons, they come here and they are happy and they're giving out hugs and high fives. It's been one of the best things that's come into our lives in the last 2 years.
One of the biggest struggles we're seeing, and people talk about the preschool to prison pipeline, but what they don't understand is that preschoolers, for example, are getting kicked out of preschool because of social skills. If they're not able to share, if they're not able to follow directions, if they're not able to cooperate when the teacher's giving them instruction, these are the children that I'm seeing at 3, 4, and 5 years old who the school systems or private daycares are saying, we can't manage them. I've had kids come, they were in our programs able to do the social skills and then able to return back to their school programs because now they've gained those skills.
Now, wasn't that amazing, right? Between Dr. Stacy, her knowledge, and the video. And it was funny you said Simon Says. We were literally playing Simon Says with my niece and nephew the other day, with my 2 nephews and my niece. And it was comforting to hear that that was a good thing, you know, that we were already doing it. And red light, green light, we were talking about playing that too. My mother says, all that other stuff. But it was that's very comforting to hear. So I do want you guys to notify you guys that there will be a question and answer after this. There will be a Q&A at the end of this event. So please, with your questions, there should be a note card in your blue bag, I'm pretty sure, where you can write something down. There's a blue bin back on that table with the purple cloth all the way in the back. There's a blue bin. Just place them in there so you guys have your questions so we can answer your questions from Dr. Stacy, okay? So just during the break, just make sure you please write those questions and put them down over there. So right now it's time for our next door prize, right? More prizes. Woo! Woo! Everybody say woo! Prizes! All right, so Let's do it. All right. Everybody got their tickets ready? I know y'all ruffling through your bags talking about when I just told you about the cards, but let's get our tickets. So the next ticket is 829-0754. Hey, we got a winner. Okay. So this next one is an Easter basket. So we know what Easter and spring coming up and everything. So you guys, you can take this one. This one is yours. I'll trade with you. Yay, winners. Okay. The next ticket is 829-0747. 829-0747. Anybody? Oh, hey, we got another winner. All right. So this is another bundle from Dr. Stacy. This is her books and everything. So you got a Dr. Stacy bundle. Everybody loves Dr. Stacy bundles. Okay. So now we're past with that, we're going to move on to our next session with Dr. Stacy. So this is called Coaching with Dr. Stacy.
All right. Thank you, Dejanay. We are going to move into coaching. How are we doing so far? We're good. All right. We're ready for the 8 to 16, yes? Oh, that's when parenting gets to be interesting, right? They can talk, they can walk. They're a little independent, and they tell you about it, right? So let's talk about good coaching versus bad coaching. So I told you I'm a basketball fan, and it's March Madness. Whether the team is winning or losing, who are we talking about? The coach. Look at how many stories right now about the coaches. And this is significant because when the team is winning, you're the best coach ever. When your team is losing, well, right? You're waiting to get the call that you're not going to make it anymore as a coach for us. And that's how we feel as parents. So many parents feel defeated. They feel blamed when their kids aren't doing well. I was that parent that got the phone call, the email, the letter from school. And your heart sinks. And immediately, you start blaming yourself. Why isn't my child able to manage in school? What's wrong? What did I do wrong, right? And so I always tell parents, yes, you're the coach, but your children are still children. If you know me well enough, you know I always say, I'm the therapist. My children are children. Children are going to make mistakes. They're going to have struggles with skills. And we're going to be able, as the coach, to recognize, again, meeting our kids where they're at, recognize what's going on with our game plan, and adjust and shift to help our kids to be successful. So let's go back to our domains of development. As we think about our domains, and we're thinking 8 to 16 years. So physically, what are our kids going through? What kind of developmental things do they have physically? Puberty. Look, as we shake our head, yeah, man, those hormones. Big part of it. What else is going on physically for kids? Growth spurts, yes, which sometimes with puberty gives you mood swings, right? Sleep, nutrition, right? All of these things. As we start to get, I always say, unfortunately, school gets earlier, our kids get less sleep, right? What's going on cognitively? 8 to 16 years from a cognitive development perspective. What are things that are impacting their cognition? Social media, yes. But there's another S word that's more important. School, right? My teachers, yes, school, then social media, hopefully, right? Yeah, even experiences, right? Some kids are first getting their jobs at 16. I always say jobs can teach them more than we can. Whew. Let the supervisor tell them, right? Social emotional, 8 to 16, what are our kids going through? Peer pressure, relationships, friendships, right? And not just the teen drama, because Mean Girls are happening in 3rd grade now at recess. Yeah, we have to have, this is true. Some schools have a bench for kids at recess to sit when they want someone to play with them. This is our reality now. You go sit on the bench and wait for a friend, because this is how tough it can be for some of our kids. And so we have a lot of work to do during this stage, but the question's going to be, as a coach, what's your parenting style? What's your coaching style? Again, research, we have some different parenting styles, so we're going to talk a little bit about each one. Permissive, you're your kid's friend. They get away with murder. You're not really interested in parenting. We're just going to hang out and be friends. Neglectful, sometimes you might get state services involved if you're neglectful, right? Not meeting needs. Indifferent to what's going on for your child. Authoritarian, because I said so. Let's face it, did we like the because I said so answer? We hated it. So don't do it. Remember your 13-year-old self that hated when your parents said, well, it's because I said so. You must do it. Authoritative is about natural consequences, problem solving, listening to your kid, working with your youngster. Sound of Music. We all remember? Well, maybe if you watched the earlier version, but the later version. The Von Trapp family. Baron Von Trapp, yes? He blew his whistle, and what would happen? They would come running and line up in neat order with their uniforms, yes? And he was a naval captain during World War II. But again, he thought that way of parenting was the way to do it. Kept him in line, especially when you have 7. I could just imagine. But then comes Governess Maria. Now, I am not singing. But the hills came alive, right, with the Sound of Music. What was different about her? Why do we still think about her? Because she let them climb trees. She made costumes out of the drapes. She followed rules, but she was mindful of where they were developmentally when they needed to bend and break those rules a little bit. And thinking about, again, that part of us, research actually says the Von Trapp, the Baron Von Trapp kind of parent, this is what research says will happen to your kids. The because I said so parents, you end up with kids that are conduct disorder, criminal behaviors. They have trouble at work. They have trouble in relationships. Let that sit in for a minute, though. Why? Because you never gave them an opportunity to reason and think for themselves. You always told them what to do. And guess what? Because you told them because I said so, that's how they operate in the world. Because I said so. And so really we're doing a disservice to our kids when we have that type of because I said so mentality. I'm going to put all of these things together in a morning example. Temperament of your child, your parenting style, and then the moment. So if we were in the morning, and in the morning, remember our difficult child, it's time to get up. They're not getting up the first time. They're not getting up the second time. They may not even be getting up the third time, right? But again, I'm the authoritarian parent. I'm the Von Trapp. What am I doing all morning long then? Yelling, 100%. I'm yelling. I might even have my whistle like the Von Trapps, right? And I am mad, and I am changing the energy in my home because my temperament of my child is not fitting well with my parenting style in the moment. And so then what happens is, can we get out of the door? Sure. But we're a hot mess, yes, when we get out the door. You're mad going to work. Your kid's dysregulated going to school. So when the classroom teacher says hello, oh, it's downhill from them, all right? Someone says hello to you at work, it's downhill for you because you still have to get yourself together because that kid this morning. These are those moments when we talk about having a plan. Coaches, when you're in a difficult situation, what do? They pull out the little sheet. They hide so the other coach can't see on TV, right? And they start figuring out the plan. We have to shift. We have to change. We have to do something different. Don't keep having the same kind of mornings, coaches. Figure out a new plan. Give you an example. I worked with a family one time, and it was interesting. The family, we were talking about dinner, and they said mealtime gets to be so combative. Their kid doesn't want to eat. There's arguments. The siblings are fighting with each other. And I said something to them, and I said, how was their day at school? And they looked at me and they said, I don't know. We have lost the reason of mealtime. Mealtime is not about eating all your vegetables. It never was. Research says that if we sit and have dinner with our kids, they're more likely to graduate. They're more likely to be successful in life. So mealtime is not about if 3/4 of the plate is empty. Mealtime was about connection, talking with your kid, seeing how their day went. And so coaches, you have to know the moments and you have to know the plays in the moments. Good coaching. Let's talk about good coaching. Good coaching listens to our team, listens to the players. I have had an athlete for most of her life, and it's interesting because there's been coaches that I've loved. There's been coaches that she has loved. There's been coaches we've both been like, yeah, not so much. Can't wait for the season to be over. Why? Because coaches need to listen to the players. But it's interesting, coaches, when your kid has something to say about the green beans that taste funny, what's our response? Eat them anyway. Exactly, right? We're not even open to just some feedback, not criticism. It's not criticism. It's feedback. The survey of your patrons, right, are saying, hey, listen, I'm concerned about the taste of the vegetables tonight. But think about that, right? Do we hear their concerns when they say their room's hard to clean? Kids are breaking down. Yes, they made the mess. I hear you, Baron Von Trapp. They made the mess. They need to clean it up. But sometimes it's hard, and it's a lot. Do we hear our kids when they're talking about homework is hard? Folks, it looks different. 3rd grade, I think I did in 6th grade what they're doing in 3rd grade, right? It looks different, and it is hard. And in those moments, again, thinking about listening to our players. We also set team goals. Your job is to win, not the argument, the whole game. Take that in. What's our game? Making sure our kids are successful. What's the argument? Whether or not we're eating those green vegetables that taste funny, right? Coaches look at the big picture. I love after a basketball game, and right now we're in playoff season, and you'll hear coaches talk about the next, what we need to do the next game, and they're so awesome, right? They're so supportive in what we didn't do, what we need to do, what we're going to do. That's how we need to be, even when our kids are having a tough dinner and a tough meal. And we go back and say, maybe we don't make those green vegetables tomorrow. Thank you for your feedback. Let's find a green vegetable we do like and how we can fix it differently so it tastes wonderful, so that we can enjoy the meal, because that's our real goal, enjoying that moment. So we're going to go through some different moments in parenting from 8 to 16 that seem to be a little difficult sometimes for folks. And we're going to start with some chores. So I'm going to have Josh, we're going to play 2 different songs. We're going to play the first one, then the second one, and then we're going to take a vote. So Josh, go ahead and play the first one. All right. We got hand motions going in the sound booth. I love it. All right, so Josh, let's play the second one. Oh, my game's moving. All right. So if you can tell by my daughter's facial expression, which song do you think is playing in my house on Saturday mornings when it's time to do chores? Song number 1 or song number 2? There's actually a family dance to that, but we won't go into that. So as I mentioned earlier, my husband is from Guyana, South America, and part of being married to someone from a different background and culture is that we had to learn how to mix our home. And so one of the interesting things, and I can tell you, this was not my idea of Saturday morning chores. I have to 100% give it to him. When we first got married, before kids even, it was funny because I was like, we do what on Saturday, right? We have to get up. He goes without breakfast and starts cleaning. And I'm like, oh, blessings, no, I have to have my coffee, my eggs. I'll join you when we hit the bathrooms, all right? But what's been interesting is the music actually is what we connect with even around our chores in our home. But Saturday mornings, if I'm at work, sometimes I'm driving up the driveway and I pull the garage and I can hear the music even as I'm pulling in. And I'm like, oh, we're cleaning house today. Awesome. Because even since they were little, that is what we've done. We've made chores fun. We've made it a part of just who we are. But here's the other thing. Notice I said my husband, myself, and my 2 children on Saturday morning, I only have 2, are cleaning together. The Cinderella effect is real. I have talked to enough kids in therapy to say, I am not Cinderella. Mom and Dad are watching TV and I have to do the chores. My brother and sister, they don't have to do chores and I'm doing it. You increase compliance, even with chores, by relationship, doing it together. So listen, they know that, and it's funny because I have this little saying, right? Usually it starts Friday afternoon. What are our chores this weekend? What do we got to get done? And they're like, I know, Mom. They're teenagers now, right? I know, Mom. Okay. By Saturday afternoon, somewhere mid-afternoon, I just check in. How are we doing with the chores? Everybody finished? Yeah. You have the rest of the weekend to yourself. See how lovely that sounds? But I have the rest of the weekend to myself. I'm not nagging behind any children all weekend. We're not talking about picking up and cleaning things. But again, even that sense of cooperation. And so many of you are thinking things like, oh, but only on Saturday. What about the room? I'm going to go back to relationship. I don't care about the rooms. Who goes in my kids' rooms Monday through Friday? They do. Who else? Not me. Listen, not grandmom, because think of the things we tell them. Oh, when company comes. Why is company going in your kid's room? That's what doors are for. We close them Monday through Friday. We clean them when we need to. But again, people are losing relationship with their kids over the clothes on the floor, over the bed not being made. My kids have learned those skills. They know those skills. I am pretty confident when they go to college with a roommate or they live on their own one day, they'll know how to clean. And they'll put on some pretty cool music and the roommate will be like, oh, what's that? It's our cleaning jam. Let's go. So I don't have to argue every day about these things because I'm more concerned with connection and relationship. Let's talk a little bit about schoolwork because homework time is tough. It is. And homework is tough. Start early with a routine. And I know we as parents also have a hard time with routine because our kids are in so many things. One thing I've learned from students, though, is even where you do homework matters. Think about it. Kitchen table. Is it quiet? What's the distractions going on in your kitchen at homework time? Cooking, cleaning, the Amazon delivery, the dog's running, we're barking, someone's having a phone call, grandmom's on the line. It is not easy to do schoolwork at the busiest place, Grand Central Station, in your home. But yet, that's what we do. And then we're yelling at them the whole time that they're not done yet. Why aren't you finished yet? And then when they say things like, but you're no, you can't tell me what to do. You need to get your homework done. Folks, we create these moments. So if my kid says, hey, I want to go up to my room and get my work done because I can do it in 30 minutes, that's the space we need to be in and listen, because that's important. And we all know with COVID, I just have to say, our kids lost skills, even the academics, right? So when your kid says to you, I need help, we're not going to say things like, well, you should know how to do this. Ouch. And I have littles that tell me that. Second and third graders, when parents are trying to help them with homework, will say things like, well, you should know how to do this. Folks, they're asking for help. They don't know how to do it. Hello, that's their cry. They can't. My daughter is probably in about a few minutes going to regret the fact that she agreed to come here today. She's like, if she tells one more story, I did warn her in the car, though, that there would be parenting stories because I'm a parent. Paige will leave me notes. And it's funny because most nights I'm out working with families till about 8:30. I'll get home. The other day there was a little sticky note. Please, I need help with Macbeth. And it was on the spot where I always put my bag when I come in. Now she's somewhere in her room, but that sticky note was enough for me to switch gears in my mind as a mom that just worked a full day, come home. I'm like, okay, let me go change in my pajamas. I had the sticky note in hand. I'm like, oh dear God, Macbeth. At 9 o'clock at night, Macbeth. But, and folks, she's bright, she's smart, but Macbeth? So stand in that sometimes, that even when they're teenagers in high school, they still need help with things. And that's why they're having a hard time with math. That's why they're having a hard time with English. Because folks, one, we didn't train a lot of the early learning skills. They don't have them. And math, I'm telling you, education is going so fast. Every day it's a new topic. These kids can't keep up. And if they don't have a parent at home that takes on the hat of an educator sometimes, they're going to get further behind. And then, of course, what do we do? Why are your grades like this? That's not the question you ask. The question is, how can I help you? You seem to be struggling in that subject. What do we need to do? My son, bless his heart, now I'll talk about him for a second. Math has never been his jam, and that's exactly how we talk about it. We laugh in our home because math has always been that grade. That's never an A, always a B, maybe a C. But I know when every math quiz is. I know what we need to study. I know where. I order the math textbooks in the summer because we have to know math. He wants to be a chemistry major. He wants to be a chemist. And he has to know math. And so we're at that point now, like, dude, it's about internalizing it and loving it as much as you love science, because unfortunately, you got to have an A or a B to get into the chemistry program that you want. And so even being able to say, okay, I will take the time, I will learn, we look up apps, we do a lot of things to be able to help. But summer learning. Let me give you a trick, something that I do a little bit different with summer learning. Some people, or some teachers I should say, give you packets, right, at the end of the school year. Even the middle schools will say, hey, have your kids work on these skills. What I do with summer learning is I actually work on what they're going to learn next year. Why go backwards? They were already supposed to have known that stuff, right? That's not summer learning. Summer learning is about new material, new information. So I go to the school website, I go to the Board of Ed page, I look up on the curriculum, I look at the grade they're going to be in next year. They even have textbooks and information there, what categories, what subjects are going to be there. I look it all up. They can attest 15 minutes of learning. That's it. Game changer. 15 minutes. You got all day to do nothing. 15 minutes in the summer. We go through math. We read our books. But again, getting them ready because school goes fast. And I need them to keep up. And so a big part of that, again, doesn't take much time for you or for them, but it's a big part of recognizing that sometimes they need help and they need us to be able to help. I'm going to move into probably the number one issue today with parenting, technology. I asked my sister if I could share this story, and she gave me permission to share. So I'm going to share this story. We were talking the other day about my nephew, and my nephew's autistic and Colt, and we love him, and we're excited about his 10th birthday coming up. And she was telling me how she's going to redecorate his room and put his gaming chair up there and his game equipment. And I said, in his room? And she said, yeah, in his room. And I said, no, don't do that. She said, but why? It'll be really nice. I said, listen, Paxton's stuff is in the basement for a reason. You're going to save yourself arguments by avoiding putting in the room now. When he's 14 and 15, you'll thank me that it's downstairs. Because this is what we're doing. You're setting your kid up for failure. Technology is not the enemy. It's not having a plan with technology. That's the problem. Coaches, remember I said you have to have a plan. What's your plan around technology? If you have a little, and I don't know about you, but it drives me insane to see 2-year-olds on tablets. It just does. When my kids were in the grocery store, we had checklists. They were helping me shop. We played. We had fun. They had toys. My son would sleep most times in the basket. It was great. Had my little helper over here helping me out. It was awesome. But that's the thing that we have to think about with technology. We also have to change the fact that just because you turn a certain age, you get a device. We had middle school pegged in our mind for video games. Again, I work in the field. I've seen many families and children, and I said my son will not have a game system until middle school, 6th grade. What we did, we also said during the school year, they can have a tablet, but they can't have that during the school year. When I tell you these kids on June 15th would go find their father to find those tablets, it was like, because they knew all summer, right? They get their games, they get their technology. But here's the thing, we're walking around like our kids, it's just like any other toy. They have $800 devices. And I'm not just talking about the cost, but think about that. And we're like, oh, but they're supposed to. No, they don't have to have just because every other kid has. We're in a pediatrician's office, and she's small, and Paige says to me, Mom, I want a tablet. And I said, you're a little too young for that. And she says, but Mom, everybody else has one. And I looked around the waiting room in the pediatrician office, and no lie, every kid in that lobby had a device, and they were on it. We carried books. We carried small toys. We carried snacks. That's what we did when we went places and we had to wait, because waiting's been a parenting thing forever. You just got to be prepared for it. Charging stations. The American Medical Association, when I was growing up, 40-some years ago, no TVs in your bedrooms. We have known this about technology for probably 40-some years. Why is this surprising that kids are struggling when their cell phone or their tablets are in their bedroom with sleep, with nutrition, with mood? We have known this since the days of TV. Don't put it in your kids' bedrooms, right? So I'll tell you a quick story about charging stations. Before we had a designated charging station for Chromebooks, school-issued devices, right? Being a middle-aged mom, sometimes in the middle of the night, you have to go to the bathroom, right? So I get up, I'm walking to the bathroom, and I thought I heard a noise. Now, I'm not a paranoid kind of mom, but I'm like, interesting noise. I come out of the bathroom, I hear it again. I said, let me see what's going on. Let me check. So I start walking down the hall, and I hear it again. And this time I recognize the noise to be my son hysterically laughing. And this is like 2 a.m. So I'm saying to myself, what's he doing? So I'm a fun mom too. So I decided to open the door. And luckily, he was under his blanket, completely under his blanket. Now, I did not know that he had headphones in, right? But he was completely under his blanket on his school Chromebook, playing games in the middle of the night. So I said, you know what? Natural consequences. Here we go. I walk up. He has never done that again. I scared the living crap out of him. Now, it did teach us something because we were letting them just keep their school Chromebooks in their bedroom and thought nothing of it till that moment. So now Chromebooks, kitchen counter. Cell phones, they got those in middle school. They're in our bedroom. not kitchen counter, in our bedroom as a charging station. So at 9:30, notice I said my high schoolers go to bed at 9:30. At 9:30, they bring their cell phones in and we charge their cell phones because they need sleep. They need good nutrition. They need to be in a good mood. I honestly have good kids because they get sleep. 100% because they get sleep. And so even that piece of it. The last part I want to talk about cell phones and technology. And really cell phones at this age, because most of our kids are getting to the point where we're giving them some type of handheld device. But what I'm noticing is that we start to use that device, that thing, as punishment. Well, if you don't clean your room, I'm taking your phone. Folks, remember we got to go back to training. I don't have to threaten. I don't have to take things away. They've got the skills. They know what they need to do. They have the game plan. But how much of our dialogue, even around these devices, are now about punishment? Did you give that to them for that reason? Because my thing is, if that's all you're going to do every other day is threaten to take it away, then just take it away. Because now this becomes the moment. Teenagers tell me they will not even answer their parents' texts or phone calls because they know the moments about punishment are getting in trouble. But again, thinking about engagement, we say the biggest concern is that they're on the devices, they're not talking to us. Here's what parents say. Well, get off your phone. You're on your phone all the time. Come and talk to me. What does that do for our teenagers? I gotta go. Right? How about, hey, we haven't played dominoes in a while. Why don't you come? Let's play some dominoes for a little bit. What's the difference? Engagement. Yeah. You want them off your phone? Then give them something to get off their phone for. Kids are bored, and they tell me that all the time. What else is there to do? And of course, the kids also say, well, yeah, they're on their phone too. And I'm like, yeah, that's our last little bit about technology, right? Being able for us to also bring that back and manage that time. So question, as we close out this section, what's your parenting plan? What type of parent will you be? We now have skills. We now have a plan. We're going to take a quick break to watch our last social skills video. After the break, we're going to have a special guest. Also, this break time will be time for you to get your Q&A questions in as well. And then we'll go into our last section on cheering. Children today have a different experience when it comes to social engagement. When I was young, we'd go outside, go to the playground, have a pickup game of tag or football. Nowadays, kids can go home, log onto a device, and while they're being social, oftentimes playing with their friends, we're missing out on social communication skills that only can take place when you're face-to-face with someone. Many people think that social skills groups are groups where kids need to make friends. While that is true, social skill groups is an evidence-based treatment approach to help kids who struggle with social moments, things like social communication, understanding directions, following instructions, cooperating. It is helping children to be able to navigate social moments that they experience all day long.
Family Services has truly been beneficial to me and my family. My boys, they love it. I love it. Just watching the growth that they have. Words can't even describe how great it feels.
I've seen a huge difference in Micah's attitude. He is more social. He wants to play with other kids, which is something that he had no interest in doing at all. He didn't want to be around anybody. He wanted to do what he wanted to do, play with his little cars, and if that wasn't it, it was a fit. So we've come a long way.
It's been night and day. I can't tell you, I can't express to you how much of a difference it makes as a parent to watch your child able to interact with other people, to not be scared, to not run away from situations, to hide. He no longer needs those safe spaces. He can talk to a friend. He better knows what to expect in life. And as a parent, that's all you want. You want your child to thrive.
This isn't just professional for me. My nephew's autistic. My sister in Maryland can't find a provider within an hour and 20 minutes to provide a service like this. I think every community, every parent, every family that gets the diagnosis of autism or ADHD, or that your child's neurodivergent or has a learning disability, needs help. They should be able to find something in their community. And that's what Little Hands Community Promise is really about. Changing the fact that in our communities, families should be able to find support for their children just the way they're designed.
Okay. I was about to come up here like a battle rapper. My hand was all cupping the mic like that. I don't know why I did that. Okay, so now we're going to head to our break. So everybody can gather their questions. Any questions that you have, like I said, they're back in that blue bin. I'm probably going to try and grab the bin, and you all can come to me and just drop them in there, so that we can do our Q&A at the end. And I also forgot to tell y'all my name. My name is Dejanay. My name's Dejanay. I'm a talk show host. I have my own talk show on YouTube. So that's why Dr. Stacy was comfortable enough to ask me to help her MC this. So I completely forgot to say my name. All right, so I'm Dejanay, just so y'all know. Okay, well, we're about to head into the break. So like I said, make sure you gather your questions and everything. And we will put the questions in that bin, and it'll be a 10-minute break. So we'll gather back in 10 minutes, okay? Hello? All right. Okay, everybody. Let's get on back. Let's gather, sit back down, get ourselves together so we can move on with the rest of this workshop. I'm very excited about it. How was your break? It was good? Y'all got the break you needed? We about to learn some more? Okay. That's how you know Dr. Stacy's a therapist. She knew we needed a break. You couldn't just keep throwing information at people. Got to give them a break so they can digest it. Beautiful. Okay. So I'm really excited to announce that we have another guest speaker here. Her name is Vida Shimsid Dean, and she's the co-founder of AR Connects Incorporated, and she has served as its general counsel and chief operating officer. She serves on AR Connect's executive management team responsible for operations, helping drive AR Connect's business strategies and development. So over the course of her career, she has had the opportunity to serve in both the private and public sectors. In the public sector, she has served as the senior counsel for the Connecticut Attorney General's office. She's a multifaceted co-founder and entrepreneur. Former corporate counsel advising clients on executive level management, emerging technology business and development, IP portfolios, and handling governance matters. She describes herself as former corporate attorney with a strong technology and entrepreneurial passions. She's now permanently bitten by the tech bug, and she has moved her legal background in the innovative space of emerging technology. She has and continues to serve on the executive management team and advisory board for several other tech companies. She holds a law degree from North Carolina Central University School of Law, a bachelor's degree from University of North Carolina at Greensboro, a graduate certificate in cybersecurity and information risks from Harvard University. She's also a member of the Pennsylvania, District of Columbia, and Connecticut bars. She lives in South Jersey with her husband and her triplet sons who are in their first year of college. You heard the crowd go, ooh. She's a member of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated for over 16 years. Most recently served on the National Strategic Partnership Task Force. Previously served on the National Legislative Committee. She's a member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Her hobbies and passions are working out, playing golf, and reading tech magazines. And she always believes that life is good. Whoo, you know when someone has a lot of accomplishments, you gotta go whoo after that. Come on now. Well, I would like to bring her up to the stage so she can share with you.
Dejanay, thank you so much for that. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Phenomenal. I just want to say phenomenal. And thank you for sharing all those pieces about me. But otherwise, I am Vita. I am co-founder of AR Connects. But before I even talk about the technology, I just want to take a moment and say I am so excited to be in this room. Dr. Haynes, you are phenomenal. Phenomenal. I had the privilege of being in a virtual audience over 2 years ago when I heard Dr. Haynes speak. And she was talking about the impact of the pandemic on our children. In that moment, and look, I've been around a minute. I've heard so many speakers. I've heard other mental health specialists. And I knew in that moment that you were gifted. The message that you bring, not just your expertise, but your compassion, resonated not with just me, but with the entire audience. So in that moment, you were on my radar. You absolutely were on my radar. Aside from my personal story, just what you're trying to do in the community with Little Hands, Community Promise is phenomenal because you want to give these services to everyone. That in of itself is commendable, particularly at a time pandemic and post-pandemic, where we know the implications and the impact will be decades. So that's it. That's my personal testimonial. I just needed to say that. I know that I can work a room, so most of you probably already have my business card, right? Let me just say that you probably do, and I wanted to share it with you. AR Connects is a company that launched over a year ago, but has been in the making for the past 4 years. AR Connects is an augmented reality company, and I just want to take a few minutes and say, what does that mean? It means that you can enter the metaverse with AR. There's virtual reality and there's augmented reality. Augmented reality is the ability. We've all been, queued up on the QR code. Oh, let me take my phone out and get a QR code. Imagine taking your phone out, opening up my app on an image. It could be a picture. Dr. Haynes has augmented some of her children's books that are now on Amazon and in print magazine and print here. She's augmented pages. What does that mean? That means that when you open up the app on a particular page with that logo, you're going to get an audio message or you can actually get a video message. So this is the QR code on steroids, okay? That's what AR is. It is a QR code on steroids that is really triggered by an image. We're excited that you have given us an opportunity to partner with you. But not just partner with you, but help deliver and enhance quality of life. I was speaking earlier with your sister, and we talked about technology. You talked about technology and how it can be used. The importance is technology is absolutely good, but it's good based on how it's used. We're excited about AR Connects partnering with Little Hands, Community Promise, because it is about increasing and enhancing the quality of life. The metaverse is wonderful, but it is meaningless unless you're involved in using it. We know that we're in virtual spaces. Real spaces are very important. But when you have an opportunity to bring technology that enhances when someone actually enters a physical space, that is great. When we know that the neurodivergent community might be on that device. When you can use that device to go where they are and to bring them in a safe space where you know they can be, where they can learn, that's so important. We're in the neurodivergent space with Dr. Haynes. We are at universities. We are in corporate America. We know that we're going to continue to grow, and it's about education. And when I say I'm excited to be in this space. I got here at probably 8:15 because I'm so excited, because the work that you're seeing here today, you're in New Jersey right now. This will be not just in New Jersey. The work that Dr. Haynes is doing, particularly in the neurodivergent space, using immersive emerging technology, this will be national. So take a moment. Remember March 25th, I was in that space. When you see it nationally, because I am telling you, and I'm definitely a trend follower and hopefully a trend setter, you will see it, you will remember that you were in the space and you were like, oh, I remember, because it's coming. I'm going to end on that note. Thank you again for the work that you're doing, and thank you for making the quality of life better for all of us, and all of us meaning the entire communities that surround you. Thank you. Thank you, Jason.
It's nice when you hear everybody consistently has the same thing to say about one person. I think everybody that knows Dr. Stacy Haynes says the same exact thing. She's amazing. So it's consistently like that for everybody in all facets. Okay, so this is the last prize we're gonna do. We had a prize find its way back up here, so we're gonna give it out again. Y'all got another chance. That's what that means, to win a prize. And we added some other people in there. So okay. Let's do this last one. All right. So the number is 829-0758. 829-0758. Maybe? I don't know. Oh, we have a winner. Hey! Y'all were such calm winners. I'm like, yeah, I just won. That's me. There's your Easter basket right there. That's me. I'm dramatic. I'm so dramatic. I won something at a pageant one time, and I had to be like, oh, thank you so much. In my head, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I just won. Somebody collect me. I'm not supposed to be doing all this right now. Y'all are nice winners for real. Okay, we have our next drawing. Okay. 829-0748. We have another winner. Yay! All right. So this is another Dr. Stacy bundle. That's the one you wanted. Look at that. Look at God. There you go. It's right there for you. Won't he do it? Okay. We have our last one. I told you I can't pick nothing up with the nails. Okay. 829-0755. Okay, well, come on. Come on, you can collect it for. You can collect it for. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. There's the Easter basket for you guys, too. Look at that. They family won 2 of them. Come on now. Okay, so that's all of our drawings now. So now what we're going to do is we are going to now answer the Q&A. No? That's the last section, my bad. Oh, okay, so I'm inviting you up for the next one. That's what I thought. I'm sorry. So the last session is with Dr. Stacy, so it's going to be the cheer. So we're cheering them on, right?
All right, and before I get into cheer, I just want to take a moment to expand on where we're going with the AR Connects and technology. So I wrote a children's book. I'm a Vibes kid. And if you notice our cute little shirts, Vibes Parenting, it's all about recognizing that we have to meet our children where they are, as they're designed. And so Vibes Parenting is all about a movement, but what we've done with the book, as Vita nicely shared, is that on different pages, when you actually open up, Of course, I pick one that doesn't have the code, but there's codes on the books. And when you scan that image, a student is going to get an actual social skill lesson. What we're doing for our programming for our children, because it's free, that they'll actually have a magnet. And parents will be able to put that magnet on their fridge at home. And when they take that app and they scan every week, they'll hear one of their trainers' voices in a video with a new social skill. And so now we're taking even that reinforcement. But that's for younger children. For older children, I see things like maybe they're on a job. And sometimes neurodivergent people have a hard time with asking for help, asking for directions. So maybe their supervisor scans or they scan that image and up will pop their supervisor giving them instructions and directions on how to do that task. Kids that have social anxiety and are afraid to go places. Maybe it's a picture of ShopRite or the Target and we scan it and now opens the store manager waving, welcoming that young person to that store, to that restaurant. And now they can enter that space because they've seen it before, they've experienced it before on their devices in their home where they feel safe. And so this is that marriage of those two worlds to say, yes, we can take mental health and care, but we have to, yes, use technology and we have to catch up with where people are, but also recognizing the needs of the children we serve. And I'll tell you, I spend all summer teaching college kids how to survive their roommate, how to order a pizza, not just on an app, but talk to an actual person to tell them large pepperonis, because these kids, again, are missing those skills. And so these are things that we want to do with that. So I just wanted to share a little bit about even how the social skills program will be taking that technology. And again, parents will be able to access that for free, the programming, and then have those magnets so where they can start, again, reinforcing those skills and working with their student each and every week. All right, so are we ready for cheer? Yeah. Yay! And I don't have a cheer, so listen, I just thought about that. I should have started with a cheer, right? All right, let's talk a little bit about, and forgive me on the time, we will stick as close to our time, but I think we're all good if I go a little over. Yes, we'll be out of here shortly. But thinking about cheering, when I was 21, I received my first speeding ticket on my 21st birthday. Well, the police officer was so kind to say, had I realized it was your birthday before I started writing, I wouldn't have given it to you. So you would have thought I would have learned my lesson, yes? No. In the next 30 days, I had 2 more speeding tickets. Now, I was in Virginia, safe to say. They're a little strict about speeding there. So what did my insurance company do? They sent me that wonderful little letter. You need to go to driver improvement class. Punishment, right? So I go to driver improvement class. I sit there all day with the other drivers that look like me that speed. Did I learn anything? Absolutely not. But what's interesting, that was about 25 years ago. If you look at any car insurance ad right now, what are insurance companies doing? Rewarding you for safe driving. Yes, jacking up your rates as well. Yes, everything is expensive. Yeah, listen, that is a real answer. Everything is expensive. And they do jack up your rates, but they've also learned that punishment didn't change behavior for drivers. So now we have safe reward apps, right? We talk about the technology, right? Even insurance companies are like, hey, put this app and we'll monitor you, but we'll reward you. Now again, earlier when I said training, we're not going to talk about reward systems, but the idea of cheering on, if an insurance company can say, I know what the way to change behavior is by encouragement, that's what we need to do too. We can change behavior by encouragement. So the definition of cheering, because y'all know I like definitions, shouting for joy in praise, shouting for joy in praise, encouragement, giving support, and that's what we want to do. So let's go back to our domains of development, because again, our kids are still developing, even in the teenage years. So we're talking about cheering from 17 to adult. All right, let's talk about physical. What are the physical changes my 17 to adults are going through? College. What about physical? Their minds are still growing. Our brain doesn't stop till we're 26, right? So we still have the hormones development, things happening internally, right? Even the idea of sleep, nutrition, a lot of young people, This is why, and kids always say, why do we still have to have PE in 12th grade? And I'm like, because after the high school, you never touch the gym again, right? So thinking about, right, health, nutrition, sleep, all of those things that we have to navigate even in young adulthood, right? Cognitively, our young people, maybe it's jobs, maybe it's college. We're going to talk about careers versus college as well. But even social emotional, graduations. I have so many kids telling me they're afraid to grow up. They're not looking forward to graduation like we did. I couldn't wait. Oh, getting out of this house, woohoo! No, kids are wanting to stay. Then they go and they come back and stay even longer, right? But even thinking again about those changes, maybe they get married, maybe they don't. We see the numbers changing for people who are deciding to get married and start a family versus people who are deciding to stay single. And so looking at a lot of those changes our kids are dealing with. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of getting out of the last stage with our young people. But I'm going to talk a lot about relationship with cheer. So I need 2 volunteers for a second. Not everybody jump up at once. All right. Yep. Yep. All right. I'm going to have you over here. I'm going to have you over here. All right. So both of you have directions and instructions in front of you. And your instructions and directions are about cleaning your room. All right. So when we say go, and Josh, you can give me the fun music for cleaning. You're going to follow your directions and clean your room. You ready? All right. Music. The fun music. There we go. Start cleaning. All right. So I'm going to start over here. Yes, give them a hand for cleaning their rooms, yes? All right. So you know what? You did a great job. You followed directions. You put the puzzle in the bin, right? The red bin. You put everything else in the blue bin. Good job. You can go now and play on your devices. Give her a hand. Stay right there for a second. All right. Let's see what we did. Oh, but yeah. Can you bring those up here for a second? Yeah, you know, I really wanted some stuff in the red bin, though, and I don't know what you did here. Why don't we redo this, okay? Sorry, you're not going to be able to be on your device right now. Why don't you redo this? Okay. All right. How are you feeling right now? Upset. Exactly. Great answer. All right, give them both a round of applause for participating. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's look at their instructions and directions, right? So we had put the puzzle in the red bin. That instruction was followed, yes? Put the other toys in the blue bin. Complete compliance, yes? Over here, where my teenager's frustrated, all I said was put all the toys away. Clean, listen to me. Clear or vague direction? Which one's clear? And what happened when we gave a clear direction? We got compliance, right? And here's what I want you to notice. Not only did I say it, but I put it in a visual handout, right? Visuals. We can text teenagers their chore list. We can leave notes on the fridge like we used to do, right? But one of the things in talking about directions, clear or vague, and the sentiment is correct. When I've done something that I think was done well, and then you come back behind me and say, you didn't do it well enough, or the way that I wanted it done, you've just lost them in the process. And chances are the next time it's time for me to clean my room, how am I feeling? Disgusted and angry. Folks, one thing about directions, it's about increasing compliance if they're clear. And this is not just something when we're young. This is something even in jobs, right? We think about a training manual. What's the purpose of the training manual? Clear instructions and directions, right? We want to make sure folks are doing things well. And that's what we have to think about with our children and giving directions. I want to talk about, because as our kids age, we talk about rules. And a lot of times when I'm doing a Q&A, I haven't seen that question yet though, but we're going to tackle it here anyway. What rules should you have in your home? And so I'm not a big fan of rules because I already told you I speed, right? So I break rules a little bit, right? Even the speed limit. But rules oftentimes are about what not to do versus what to do. And so one of the things about rules is that if I have a list of rules in front of me, it reminds me of what I'm not supposed to be doing. Things like, don't talk in class, don't get out of your seat. What am I reminded of? Talk in class, get out of my seat. Anybody ever play the game Taboo? All right, so we all know the rule. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, okay, maybe it's not a good one. Here it is, yes. All right, so we're gonna play the game Taboo really quickly. Yes? All right. So I have to try to describe this word to you all without using the 5 words here, right? But because these 5 words are in front of me, let's see if you guys can guess this word. All right, ready? And I'm not supposed to say the words that are on here, so let's see how this goes. All right. It is something that, I can't say that word. It is something that, this is hard. People with power, they don't stand, you're all doing it right now in a type of item that people usually don't stand in, but they sit in. I can say that word. But it's people with I messed up already because I said royalty. A throne, yeah. But what's happening? My mind is stuck on these words. So when I go into classrooms, for example, I always tell my classroom educators, have your expectations visible, not the things you don't want them to do, because that's what sticks in our mind. The list of expectations, if that's on the wall, that's what's going to stick in my mind, just like with Taboo. You guys did great. Great guess on throne, because that took me a minute. All right. That was a hard word. So thinking about expectations versus rules. When we talk about moral development and mental health, we talk about this idea at some point your ability to reason changes as you get older, right? So we talk about Kohlberg's moral development theories. And not to get too technical, but the idea that at some point we stop doing things because I'm going to get in trouble, and we start doing things because I feel like this is something I should or should not do. Your teenagers are at that stage of moral development where they start to move from, I don't do things because I'm going to get in trouble, and notice I said that, right? But now I'm starting to do things because of how I think this moment should go. Not about defiance, it's about reasoning. They're developing. And so when your kid's at the table talking about why they should no longer have to go to church with you, why they should no longer have to eat the green vegetables, right? Why they really shouldn't have to be in by 10 o'clock, or maybe they should have a bedtime, it's because of development. And now what they're learning to do is not to follow just rules, but to understand, why is this important to me? And so I like to talk in the language of expectations. And expectations are very specific. They tell people what you want to see. And they remind you, again, just like if they're visible on a list, of what I am expecting from you. And they're often time limited, right? So something like no dishes in your room. Well, kids have dishes in their room all the time. Versus, hey, take your dishes to the sink before going to bed. Gives them time to comply, tells them specifically what I need out of their room and where to put it. I love teenagers. I don't have a trash can. That's why the trash is on the floor, right? The little things matter when you really think about it. As we move into this age with teenagers, our communication also changes. Teenagers versus toddlers. Let's talk about communication. What's the communication look like with a toddler? And those of you with toddlers, you're smiling, right? Yes, they want to talk. They want to share everything. They're going to tell you too much, and you're like, oh, when it's bedtime, right? Teenagers, silence, right? It's like, oh, they sneak up on you, right? Because they're so quiet. But here's the thing about teenagers and communication. They will talk when they have something to say. And I want us to be ready to listen when they do start talking. It's really important. One of the things that I share with parents of teenagers is quality versus quantity. I am not going to expect the same volume of conversation from my teenager that I did when they were toddlers. It's just development. How many of you coming home from a long day want to sit and now talk for the next 3 hours? And yet, that's sometimes the pressure we even put on our children, right? Hey, listen, calm down a little bit. They're alive, you see them, right? But when you think about quality versus quantity, I'll be honest, as a mom, there are some days when I may have 10 minutes of conversation with my kids. And that's just the reality of their schedules. They're in sports, they're in activities, I work. That's just the reality. But those 10 to 15 minutes, I promise you, I can know more about their day than their dad, who's been home for hours, but we won't talk about that. Because I'm intentional. And here's the cool thing. When I will say things like, what's the tea? I get it. Oh, I get the drama, what's going on at school, versus, well, how was your day? Hey, listen, they're not answering that question. You've been asking that since they were in kindergarten. Come up with a new question. What was interesting today? How was that science test? Be specific even with your question if you want an answer from a teenager, right? And recognize that it's going to be one word and keep it moving. They're not giving you a dissertation. Accept the one word and keep it moving. And later at dinner, try another question. But one of the things we want it to be natural, not forced, and I'm going to come back to the middle point. Sometimes if you notice your day, how much of your communication is actual directions versus conversation for relationship? How much of your comments to your children are what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, versus how are you? How are you feeling? What would you like to do today? And don't get me wrong, I'm in that mom mode 90% of the time. This morning, I was really feeling convicted of bossing people around in here, and I apologize if I offended anybody. But when things have to be done, right, your mind's in a certain way. But relationship matters. And that relational piece is what we really want to make note of. Not how much they're talking to you, but the quality. Teenagers tell me, again, they're not going to answer their cell phone because all they're going to do is yell at me. Why answer? I know what my mom's going to say. Why answer? Increases compliance when we have relationship. That's how we get them to engage with us. I want to talk a little bit about my teenagers being stressed and my young people being stressed, because they're stressed. They're stressed just like you and I are stressed. Amount of homework they have, amount of schoolwork they have, but even the pressures. If you remember your little blue bag, pull out your little blue bag, if you still have it. Remember those bubbles that we helped them with when they were little? Hey, listen, hand this. I went and did a speaking for a group of teenagers at a high school. And I have never seen high schoolers more excited when I pulled out some bubbles. Because listen, self-regulation, even when we're stressed. Take out the bubbles, take a deep breath, relax, right? Your little notebook in there, besides being a spot where you could ask some questions or take some notes, journaling and writing it down. Now, the one thing about journaling, parents, you're not reading your teenager's journal or diary. That's a no-no. I get that all the time. Well, can I read it? No. Because I want them to get it out. I want them to feel comfortable to express it, to have a safe place. But that's important. Kids are worried about school. They're worried about social pressures, and we talk about social media. But even before social media, there was always social pressure. Transition years, going from, the little fish or the big fish in elementary school to now the little fish in middle school, to do it all over again by 9th grade, right? Whether we make the team, we don't make the team, they like me, they don't like me. Kids today have so many things to worry about. COVID, we know the impact, and as Vita said earlier, it's going to be with us probably 5 to 10 years, if not longer, the impact of COVID on this young generation. Think about it for a second. You had students for their first time in school and their interactions with people with a mask on. And now you're wondering why in 3rd grade they can't play together at recess? Hey, listen, they lost an entire time of normal development, skills that were supposed to be there for them in a natural environment. You had to be 6 feet apart. Remember that when they first went back to school? And we're all thinking, how are they going to do that? Yeah. So now that's why they're all running around for the hand sanitizer and afraid to touch people. So funny. But it's not funny, but it is. It's the reality now. And they're more germaphobe than we were, right? There was a study that looked at teenagers and things that they worry about. And they said 13 to 17-year-olds, 80% of them worry about finding a job. And that's after high school. Bless you. 80% of teenagers, even before they finish high school, they are concerned and worried. Will I have a job? What kind of job will I have? Will I have a career? Finances, if they don't have a job now, many of them are even worried about using their own money and having money. COVID has hit all of us financially. And so even our kids are aware of it. And that's starting to show up where kids are having real fear around finances. One of the kids the other day, they were so cute, we were talking about financial literacy in the high schools, and I think it's a beautiful thing that we have financial literacy. But she said, it just made me worry. I have to budget, I have bills, I have all this stuff. And I was like, baby girl, you're just in junior. You have 2 more years for that life. It's okay. But even the idea of going over financial literacy stresses them out. And so when your teenager says it's been a long day and I just want to be alone, take pause. That's not against you. They're not being rude. They've had a long day and they just need a moment. Now, I'm not going to knock on my happy hour, folks, but listen, adults go to happy hour when they've had a long day, yes? So their escape to their room on their device is their happy hour, absolutely. And let them have that time. Don't stress them about homework right now. They've got all night. They want to stay up anyway, right? They'll get it done. But even having that time to just decompress from the day, we need it too. I always tease people in my office, let me put my bags down before we start having a conversation. Because there's something about carrying all this weight and then someone saying something else to you in the moment. It's a lot, yeah. And so just being mindful of, hey, even that after school, when we talk about after school release, kids are having that. And then that's when we see more challenging behaviors and difficult behaviors, because what do? Oh, they're home now from school, go clean your room. We immediately put a demand, right? And now you've escalated them because they're not regulated coming home, because they have all this stress. And now you just put a demand in the moment. That's why we have difficult times even after school. What time does primetime TV start? 7 was the game shows, right? We have Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune. 8 o'clock. So what do you think we all should be doing by 8 o'clock? Nothing. When you think about how it used to be, dinner at 7, or dinner at 6, shows at 7, and then everybody relaxed, right? Think about how much conflict happens in your home after a certain time. Be mindful of that, right? Even as the night wears on, we talk about the witching hour, it's a real thing, but everybody needs that time even as we settle in. So I said, if demands are going to happen, it's not a good idea right after school, maybe right after dinner because we've all been fed, we got a little bit of energy, and then give it a time limit so that everybody can relax the rest of the night. That's an important thing. One thing that kids are worried about, college versus career, and what to do after high school. And we're getting in the home stretch here. Many students, 55% of students say, when surveyed, that they have no plans to attend college. Their reasoning, they're looking out for their own mental health, which is an interesting thing. They're looking at the financial stability, right? The issue of how much it costs, and so are we as parents, as I have two getting ready to go in that phase. But our teenagers are making life decisions because they're worried about this stuff. They said only about 45% of kids these days, if you survey them and ask them, will say, yes, I want to go to college, and actually have a career planned out. And that's the other piece, right? We see a lot of kids go away, and then they're undecided or they have no idea what they want to do, and then they feel lost. And I'm going to encourage you, just because they're gone, they're still your kids. They're not adults. We have to support kids those first 4 years of college and beyond, but they need us. They still need us. And many times on college campuses, unfortunately, students get lost, right? They're not coddled like they are in high school. Let's be honest. I love my educators, but they're coddled. They're not in a college setting. And no one's checking in on them. No one's making sure they have the homework done. Even the RAs, if they're there, we don't know. It's like, isn't that your whole job? Like, to make sure my kid's okay on campus? But even this idea of career in college, many children are thinking about things like a gap year. Many students are saying, I want to go to a trade school. I always tell them, listen, the HVAC guy makes more an hour than I do. So there is nothing wrong with being in the trades, because right now they are paying great money. But here's the other thing. We have to also realize there are not going to be many us. They're not going to be our mini-me's. And our parents, I know many of us in my generation, you were pushed into education, you were pushed into college. I've shared that my son wants to be a chemist and my daughter wants to be a fashion designer. But what's interesting, she goes to meet with her guidance counselor, and she's a straight A student, she's bright, she's wonderful academically, and he's looking and he's like, oh, with these grades, oh, you want to be an engineer? You want to be, She's like, no, fashion designer. He's like, okay then. And he literally turns the page on her as if the conversation was over. And I'm like, dude, you know how much creativity and math and skills that goes into design? And this baby girl can do a dress in 3 hours and wear it that same night. She is talented. But again, looking beyond what it's supposed to look like. Hey, listen, I recognize her level of intelligence are in the creative arts, and that's where I push her. And that's where I allow her opportunities to grow, because that's important. But we have to also be aware that, hey, kids aren't asking to be lawyers and doctors. They do want to be YouTubers, and here's what I do with the YouTube dream. It's just like the hoop dreams. And I say to kids, listen, you want to be a YouTuber? I encourage you. I'm cheering you on. See what kind of jobs they have, because while you're wanting to be the YouTube star, you could be working at the YouTube company. Get them there. Cheer them on. Stop shutting it down just because you don't understand it. When I think about even the technology, right? It's interesting. So around the room, and for those of you online, we put it in your chat, you can scan your codes and again, go on an image and something will pop up. That was not even heard of. So the kids that are creating and the people that are creating technology today are people that think out of the box. So we have to recognize that with our kids and cheer on that next step, even if it doesn't look like what we thought it should look like. Because here again, I have no expectations when it comes to I just want them to win and be successful. So we're going to close out with a question before we get to our Q&A questions. When your children leave home, what will your relationship be like? True story, when I was a kid, I bought a sign, and it was a proverb: train a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. And as a kid, it used to be in our bedroom, hanging on the wall. I had little ball and jacks. I think that's why I picked it up, because it had the ball and jacks, but it would be on our wall. And the significance of it then, obviously, I was a kid. But now as a parent, that is really my mindset. That's really my goal. The rest of this, hey, listen, if we do the work the first 7 years, you have it easy the rest of that time. But you're always going to be coaching, and we're always going to be cheering. And even if we have to go back and train some things, because you know what? That's what your personal trainer would do, right? They're not going to be like, oh, you should know how to do this already. We did it, 20 sessions ago. They're going to be like, oh, you still need help with that? Let's review. Let's go over it together. Let me get you there. And they whip out their little training plan and tell you where they are and where you're not. But again, that's our vision. Parenting's not tied to culture and race, things that people are trying to make some of the parenting models about. Parenting is tied to your relationship. In every culture, the research supports, in every culture, parents want connection. They want their kids doing well. And in every culture and every parenting style, people are struggling with that and wanting help in that moment. And so I hope today has been helpful. I know for me it's been fun up here. I like having fun. We are going to switch to our Q&A. So give us 2 minutes. I guess, well, you have a microphone, so we can both stand. I was going to say we don't have chairs, but we can just both stand. And do a quick Q&A. Give us a few minutes for that, and then we'll be out of here soon. Do you want me to move? Okay. Yep. Don't move this. Go for it. I'm ready.
Sounds good to me. All right. So there's.
I'm sorry. Could you introduce yourself again?
Wow. Well, like I said, my name is Dejanay. I go by Dejanay Rachel. That's my middle name. So I am an MC, talk show host, also a public speaker. So at the bottom, there's a few ways that you guys could get connected with me. Oh, look at y'all. Y'all gentlemen or whatever.
I love it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll put this one next to me. Thank you, Josh and Dad. Okay. So there's just my handles there. My YouTube channel is here. It's Deej Discussions. My Instagram is @DeejRachel. And then my Gmail is deejscussions@gmail.com. So those are all the ways you can get connected with me. Yeah, that's about it. And then you could talk to me. I'm approachable. You could do that too.
And she has an awesome home improvement series.
Oh, yeah, I guess I should
give.
give a little bit more info on that. Scoot in more.
Yes. I'm getting our instructions
this?
from behind.
This good? We in a picture now? All right. Yeah, I do have something called the Home Improvement Series. So it's about improving your home because you are your home. So it's about just improving improving your mind, how you function in life, because that's how you navigate. You don't have to live with anybody but yourself for the rest of your life. And if things are jumbled and messed up in your mind, it's going to mess you up and jumble how you communicate with people. When you're straight with yourself, you can be straight with people. So that's what the biggest thing about. So boundaries, emotional boundaries, codependency, trauma, trace, erase, and replace, all things like that. So that's why me and Dr. Stacy get along so well.
She's awesome.
Okay, that's enough about me. Let's get on to the questions. So I have the first. Ooh, this is a good question. Should you spank your child?
Wonderful. Great first question. Most parents actually ask that question when they come in because they've tried it. Usually I say to parents, if spanking worked, would you be sitting in front of me for help? So that's my simple answer. Next one.
Good one. Come on, direct and everything. Okay. Is it ever too late to train, coach, or cheer?
No, listen, if we weren't in the mindset that people can always grow, I wouldn't have a profession, right? Where I think that question comes from, too, is the idea that sometimes we feel like it's too late. And it's not too late in parenting. Even if they're 30 years old and you want to call them up and say, I'm thinking maybe I really didn't show you how to budget. And maybe that's why you're struggling with your own family. Why don't we sit down and I go over that with you? It's never too late. And listen, it's not about blame, right? Because I said training is just literally checking off a list. Did we get them all the skills? And so really being able to take that moment and think about, we can always learn something new. At least I try to. So that's a good question. I love it.
I have a
Yes.
follow-up question,
Oh, go
if
ahead.
that's okay, for that question. I'm sorry. It popped in my mind. So what about the parents who, they're still children, they still have children, but like they're in that mid phase, like preteen type phase, and they've done all of this different so far, and they're used to a certain way. So breaking that pattern is going to be difficult. How do they handle that?
So change is always hard, right? And even the idea of coming home and saying, okay, I'm going to try something different. But I would encourage you to say, if your children benefit from that difference, then change is worth it. And we can even be honest enough, I will apologize. I am not a perfect mom. I'm trained, but I'm not perfect, right? And there are moments when I've even apologized and said, I'm sorry I did that. But it's important to be open to say, hey, we can always learn something new, and we can always bring that home. And I think I'm always a fan of like people who go back to school like when they're like 80 years old, right? You see it this time of year with graduations, and I'm like, listen, if an 80-year-old can go back and learn something new, I can too. That's a great question.
Right. Sorry, it just popped in my head too.
No, good. Follow up.
Okay. What would you suggest to do when parents are out with their children and they're in like restaurants, grocery stores, other places, when they're trying to take the tablet thing away? What would you suggest that they do while they're out with their kids?
Okay. So prevention is better than cure. So even before we go into places, what's the plan? Right? We're training on skills, but what's the plan for the tablet? Even something saying like, hey, you can have that while we're waiting for our food. Once our food comes, I'll collect all the tablets. Be intentional instead of punishing or fighting and arguing the whole time, but thinking about what does that look like? For me, tablets would stay in bags, right? Or in the car, right? Thinking about what's the point of even going out. For many of our children, though, I'm going to also put something in here. For many children, though, the sensory overload of the environment may be why they need headphones and a device. And so I don't judge parents when I see a kid. Again, even the idea of the classic headphones with a device may be something that's helping that kid to regulate and soothe in the moment. But if it's a moment of I don't want them to have the device, then that's something, again, having that plan ahead of time is important. And I'm just going to add something on this one. Sometimes our defiance, especially in public settings, is about being overwhelmed and overloaded. And sometimes even without sensory processing disorders or sensory things, I always tease people, the bathroom, the fog sound when you turn on the lights in the bathrooms, that filter, I can't stand it, right? I will go to the bathroom in the dark instead of having that noise go. But imagine a kid where noises bother them and they're in a restaurant. Smells bother them and they're in a restaurant. Sometimes even walking in and it's not what they think it would look like, they're now running out the door or hiding under the table. And so again, defiance in those moments is not always about defiance. There may be something else that's overwhelming and overloading your child in that moment. And so even with, the devices, it can be a balance in having a plan, but it also can be sometimes for some families a big help.
Oh, that was good. Dr. Stacy, what are your thoughts about summer bridge workbooks? I think that's what it says. Right?
Summer Bridge workbooks?
Summer budget workbooks?
Summer Bridge. Yep, Summer Bridge workbooks.
I was right?
Workbooks
Okay.
are great.
All right, good.
When it comes to summer work, like I said earlier, I like to keep it at a time limit because, again, you say schoolwork and everybody falls apart, right? So the idea of one page at a time, something brief. How many of you have heard of iExcel? Yeah, and it's the worst, right? iExcel is the program that just keeps going. This is why we're having such a compliance issue with homework with kids. And if you're not familiar with iExcel, it's a program that literally it's trying to track your progress, but when you get things wrong, it makes you add more time or more problems. And the kids are struggling with these types of assignments. And so with summer work, try to keep it time specific, very limited. But I usually will go even the dollar store. I always love it because dollar stores are great places to get all types of summer learning, material. Anything simple and easy is good to use.
Okay. How do I know what is right parenting versus wrong parenting styles?
So even though we gave the parenting styles of the 4 different, authoritarian, again, we pretty much say the research tells us it's just wrong, right? But when you think about starting where you're at, I don't want people to get focused on bad and right and wrong versus building relationship. And taking a pause and asking yourself if what I'm getting ready to do or say, is that going to help my relationship with my child, or is it going to hurt my relationship with my child? And again, we all have bad moments, so that's different. But I'm talking about your long-term game plan is how do I navigate the daily, day-to-day with my kids? And that's really, again, not right or wrong. And even when parents come to me, I always say to them, we're not going backwards. I'm not judging. That's not what this is about. It's about saying, hey, these are some things we can try. Let's see how they work and see how they impact you and your kid.
And then I have a follow-up question for that, what you just said. How do you dictate what is going to hurt relationship versus this is just what they need and they're upset about it right now, like taking the tablet away? Okay, I can't stand you. Why would I take the tablet away? Like that type of thing. How do you know what is relationship damaging or like just annoyed in the moment, but they're going to get over it? How do you?
Good question, because so even with compliance, I always tell parents, listen, if you tell your teenager to go clean their room right now, you're probably going to get some eye rolling, some stomping. But compliance, if they're walking towards their room, you have compliance in the moment. And one of the things in thinking about how do you feel after that moment? Because if we know when we've hurt our kids, right? Listen, you get that stomach feeling that wasn't such a great move. Nobody has to tell you it wasn't such a great move. But I'd rather us have that connection feeling more than that stomach feeling.
Gotcha. Okay. If I know a family that would benefit from your services, how would I go about initiating that?
Oh, that's a loaded question there. So the hard part about mental health right now, and I tell everybody, this is why we're also offering with Little Hands Community Promise, the groups. To get to an individual provider, even myself, you're going to wait about a year. That's the wait list right now, 15 to 18 months at most facilities for evaluations, for testing. We opened up these groups because I promise you, most of what we need to work on from a kid, my youngest was 2.5 when they started groups with us, even to middle school. They can gain those skills that you need them to have, like now, through groups. And that's why it's so important. I always tell parents, when you saw those groups, listen, the kids aren't bad kids. They're kids that need help with skills. Skills that individual therapy, that's exactly what we would be doing on an individual basis. But now what we're able to do is put them with peers. So remember, you saw the physical stuff, right? They're playing with Legos. They're doing the little kits. The cognitive, they're learning the social skills. But even the social emotional, these kids walk away with friends. Individual therapy, I'm not their friend, I'm their therapist. I need them to have natural supports, and that's why groups work so well. I have some of these kids, they met in group and now they're gaming with each other. They're doing play dates outside of group. That's what the kids should be doing. And so I know that's a long answer, but it is a struggle. And I always tell people, don't think you're going to call my office even on Monday and you're going to get an appointment anytime soon. Like that is just the reality of the wait list. And that's why we created Little Hands Family Promise for free services, but also to help meet the need that so many families need something now.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize the point. It's a lot to wait even for a therapist when you're our age. As adults, it's a lot to wait. But even more with Dr. Stacy and the rest of the therapists do there, that's even more limited than a regular person, not a regular person, I shouldn't say that, than a person who deals with adults. That's even less. So that's why you're saying what you're saying, that it's even more difficult for young children to get it because it's just the need for people who want to work with children, right? Okay. Just want to drive that home so y'all understand. Seriously,
nobody
I had
wants
to,
to work with the preschoolers.
Yeah, it's harder for them.
Those are my favorites.
How do we help our children understand bullying behavior from their peers?
Bullying's on the rise. And one of the bigger challenges that we have is that many of our kids that are now bullies were bullied, right? And so we see this evolution, this cycle that occurs that once, right? And being able to, and our schools are doing a phenomenal job by including a lot of bullying prevention material. I cannot stress that enough. I know the kids are like, not one more a workshop or an assembly on bullying, but I think putting that in our curriculums, people talking about it, having Bully Prevention Awareness Month has been huge. The hard part is, and again, We have the no tolerance policies and things in schools, but bullying really also starts with acceptance. Many of our kids are struggling because they're just not accepted. And I have to tie that into, again, not that they're the cause of being bullied, but that's a real reason why kids start to bully, because they're looking for acceptance. They're looking for people to want to be their friend and play with them. And when no one else is, we start bullying. So there's a lot of work that not only just the kid that's getting bullied, but we got to help the bullies. And we really got to wrap our arms around them and stop the discipline cycle, because that's not teaching those kids any skills, putting them out. We really have to help them with that social piece and connection and helping them to gain skills to be friends.
Because putting them out would cause them to isolate themselves even more when they're adults too, right?
And we lose connection. You lose connection with the classroom, with the school. I mean, again, and I could go on and on about, exclusionary discipline, but even the idea, let's say we put a 5-year-old, true story, first day of school, 5-year-old kicked out of class because they hit someone. What is that teaching that 5-year-old about school? If I hit, I can get out of it. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, not a safe place. If all of a sudden now I'm put out, I'm rejected because I made a mistake. And so we do have to look at, and again, New Jersey's been great. We do a lot of things K through 2nd in New Jersey, which I'm really happy about, but I know there are other states where even corporal punishment's still a thing. And we can still spank schools in many public schools in about 20 states across the nation. So these are conversations even about the trauma that schools are causing, but it's also that connection piece. Yes, I get it, that kid has harmed someone, right? When we talk about even physical bullying, but we also have to make sure that kid gets support and that kid's family gets support to help change those moments for that student.
Because showing love even after mistake is important.
Absolutely.
Very important and pivotal. Okay, this is the last one. How to balance technology usage when it is everywhere, school, home, etc.
Yeah, and that is, we talked a little bit with technology, but I love this question about the time piece and balancing that. One of the things I know parents, everybody has their different rules around it. We talk about, like in our home, video games are not during the week, they're on the weekends, but they're on their devices, they're on their Chromebooks, they're TV is technology, right? So when you really think about it, you want to be clear about what's your thoughts around it. Is it about engagement? Like we mentioned earlier, because again, quality and quantity. I'm okay with my kids being on their devices all weekend long. They're doing well in school. They get their chores done. Have at it. Because guess what? I'm going to binge watch some TV. I'm going to relax. But having a balance is that key. And telling your kid they need balance, nope, not going to work. You have to show them. And you have to engage them in order for them to have that balance. Great questions, y'all.
Yeah, they were good questions.
Yes, thank you. And
Good
give a big hand for
questions.
Dejanay, our hostess with the mostest.
Thank you.
All right, and I have to give some quick thank yous because we're going to wrap up. I know, I'm kind of in the way now. I can see the screen, sort of. Oh, our thank you screens, yes. We're getting there. No worries. Slowly but surely. A huge thank you. Oh, we have a connection issue. I think I have a slide somewhere here. A huge thank you to AR Connects for being here with us and providing the technology. If you have not had an opportunity, please download the app and scan, because even things on our website and our Facebook pages throughout the week you'll be seeing. Join us on Facebook. You'll be seeing little images that you can have some little at-home talks with Dr. Stacy, even on our Facebook page. A huge thank you to my team here and my interns, my staff at Little Hands Family Services. Thank you all so much for getting up at the crack of dawn and helping us out. And to my Culture Life family, my church family is family, and I just appreciate all of you getting up with your t-shirts and being here and with your hospitality and just hosting us and having us be a part of here. Thank you so much for what you're doing in the community. All right, all, that's it. Have a great Saturday. Love you. Thank you for being here.